Sometimes history surprises us by whispering that new beginnings often rise from dusty shelves and quiet rooms because long before banners changed or battles ended, curious minds began asking why old ideas still felt alive beneath layers of forgetfulness. What if the greatest revolutions were not loud at first, but instead started as careful glances backward when people realized the past might contain tools for shaping a brighter, stranger future? At a moment when life felt limited by tradition, routine, and inherited answers, something unexpected stirred, suggesting that looking back could actually move humanity forward. This was a time when certainty felt safe, yet curiosity felt dangerous, and the tension between comfort and imagination quietly waited for an opening. As we begin this journey together, imagine cities where old stones listened patiently because they were about to hear ancient ideas spoken in fresh voices. The world of Europe had not stopped thinking, but it often thought within narrow paths guided by authority and habit, while unanswered questions lingered like unopened doors in long corridors of learning. Most education centered on repeating accepted truths, which created stability yet left little room for wonder, especially when questioning too boldly could invite suspicion rather than applause. Books existed, though many were rare, fragile, and guarded carefully since knowledge was precious and copying it demanded time, skill, and patience. Daily life revolved around faith, work, and survival, leaving little space for abstract curiosity, even though human minds quietly remained as restless as ever. Still, beneath routine, something restless waited. Cities began to change subtly, particularly those enriched by trade, because merchants carried more than goods, transporting stories, languages, and unfamiliar ways of thinking along winding routes. Wealth gathered in certain places, and with it came opportunity, allowing patrons to support artists, scholars, and builders whose talents exceeded simple necessity. This support created a new balance, where creativity could exist alongside usefulness, even if no one yet realized how far it would reach. Public spaces became stages for ideas, with squares, workshops, and homes serving as meeting points for discussion and debate. Conversation slowly gained importance. One powerful shift came from a renewed fascination with ancient Greek and Roman writings, which had never fully vanished but had often been tucked away, waiting for attentive readers. When these texts resurfaced, they spoke of logic, beauty, observation, and human potential, offering perspectives that felt both old and excitingly unfamiliar. Scholars began comparing these ideas with their own world, noticing both harmony and tension, which sparked deeper thinking rather than blind acceptance. The past no longer felt distant, it felt like a conversation partner. Language itself became a focus because understanding original texts required careful study, encouraging precision, debate, and respect for nuance. This attention to language sharpened minds, since words shaped thought, and thought shaped how people understood humanity's place in the world. As learning expanded, scholars started valuing human experience, not just divine explanation, which gently shifted how knowledge was defined. This emphasis did not reject faith, but it changed emphasis. Human curiosity gained space. Artists felt the shift early, even before theory caught up, because they observed bodies, faces, and movement with new intensity, seeking realism alongside beauty. Instead of symbols alone, art began showing individuals with emotion and presence, suggesting that ordinary human life mattered deeply. Workshops buzzed with experimentation, as techniques developed through observation, trial, and shared discovery. Mistakes taught as much as success, eyes learned to see differently. Perspective transformed visual storytelling, allowing paintings and buildings to suggest depth and proportion, which made the world appear ordered yet dynamic. This method reflected a larger belief that the universe followed understandable patterns, inviting exploration rather than fear. Architecture mirrored this confidence, blending balance with ambition in stone and space. Structures aimed upward thoughtfully, design became dialogue. Education expanded beyond monasteries, reaching courts and cities because interest in learning spread among merchants, officials, and artists alike. Private tutors and informal schools emerged, creating networks of knowledge that flowed alongside commerce. Learning became practical and philosophical at once. Curiosity felt useful, knowledge gained momentum. Printing eventually amplified these changes, although its full impact was still unfolding because ideas could now travel faster than any single teacher or student. Books became more accessible, encouraging independent reading and interpretation. This subtly shifted authority. Readers gained confidence. Questions multiplied naturally. Social values began to adjust as individuality gained recognition, even while community remained essential. People considered reputation, talent, and achievement as meaningful measures alongside birth and status. Opportunity widened unevenly. Expectations shifted gradually. Identity felt negotiable. These developments did not erase conflict because tradition resisted change and balance required careful negotiation between respect for the past and hunger for innovation. Critics worried that admiration for ancient ideas might weaken established beliefs, while supporters argued that understanding humanity honored creation itself. Debate became constant, dialogue replaced silence. Tension fueled creativity. Across regions, shared curiosity connected thinkers who might never meet, creating a quiet network built from letters, books, and shared references. Ideas crossed borders without armies, shaping minds before rulers noticed. Change spread thoughtfully. Imagination felt contagious. Awakening unfolded slowly. As this moment gathered strength, it became clear that art and ideas were not simply returning, but transforming, reshaped by new questions and contemporary needs. The past offered tools, not instructions, leaving room for interpretation and growth. Foundations strengthened, possibilities widened. The story continued forward. As ideas continued to circulate, workshops quietly turned into laboratories of thought where artists, engineers, and thinkers tested how observation, measurement, and imagination could work together without waiting for permission from tradition or authority. In these spaces, drawing a muscle or calculating an arch was not merely technical work, because each careful line suggested that nature followed rules humans could study, understand, and sometimes gently improve upon. This confidence encouraged people to look outward at the world with sharper attention, noticing patterns in water, wind, and light that had always existed yet rarely been questioned so deliberately. Curiosity soon stepped beyond art and architecture, drifting into science, although the word itself still lacked clear boundaries during this era of overlapping disciplines. Astronomy, anatomy, and engineering mixed freely, since those who studied the stars often sketched machines, and those who painted bodies wanted to understand bones, balance, and motion. Knowledge refused to stay in neat boxes, preferring to move like a traveler, borrowing tools wherever insight seemed likely to appear. Courts and cities became magnets for talent, drawing thinkers who exchanged protection or prestige for creativity and problem-solving. Rulers valued clever minds not only for beauty or scholarship, but because innovation promised stronger cities, better defenses, and greater influence. Ideas gained power, imagination gained sponsors. Creation gained urgency. This relationship shaped culture because art and inquiry were no longer private activities, but visible signs of prosperity, intelligence, and ambition. Murals, sculptures, and public buildings communicated values silently, suggesting harmony, balance, and human capability to anyone who passed by. Beauty served purpose, purpose shaped beauty. Meaning entered stone and color. Education adjusted again as learning emphasized reasoning and debate, encouraging students to question sources rather than memorize conclusions. Teachers guided discussion instead of delivering final answers, which made classrooms lively spaces filled with disagreement, excitement, and gradual understanding. Authority softened slightly. Inquiry strengthened slowly. Thinking became active. Meanwhile, literature reflected growing interest in individual experience, telling stories that explored emotion, choice, and consequence with renewed depth. Writers considered personal motivation as worthy of attention, suggesting that human lives carried meaning beyond their roles or duties. Readers recognized themselves. Empathy expanded quietly. Perspective widened naturally. Trade routes carried these cultural shifts outward, moving not just goods but values, since merchants admired efficiency, adaptability, and new ideas that improved negotiation and navigation. Cities connected by commerce began sharing artistic styles and intellectual trends, weaving a broader cultural fabric across regions. Borders blurred gently, exchange felt constant. Influence traveled lightly. Not everyone welcomed this transformation because change unsettled familiar hierarchies and beliefs that once felt permanent. Some worry that emphasizing human potential might weaken spiritual focus, while others feared instability if questioning spread too far. Resistance appeared, debate intensified, balance required care. Yet, even disagreement demonstrated transformation because argument itself relied on reasoning, evidence, and persuasive language rather than unquestioned acceptance. Conversation became a tool for shaping society, allowing ideas to rise or fall based on clarity and strength rather than inheritance. Voices multiplied, dialogue mattered, thought gained agency. Technology quietly supported this momentum as improved tools refined crafts and expanded capability, whether through better lenses, refined instruments, or architectural techniques. Each improvement reinforced belief that progress resulted from patience, observation, and shared knowledge rather than mystery alone. Confidence grew steadily, skill met curiosity. Innovation felt possible. Across generations, these shifts influenced how children learned to see their future as potential paths multiplied beyond narrow expectations. Talents became something to develop, not simply accept, creating quiet optimism woven into education and ambition. Hope took root, effort gained meaning, identity felt flexible. The relationship between past and present continued evolving as ancient sources inspired creativity rather than restriction, proving that respect did not require repetition. Ideas lived by changing, adapting to new problems and hopes without losing their origins. Tradition became resource. Imitation became exploration, growth felt respectful. Religion also adapted because belief systems responded thoughtfully, seeking harmony rather than direct opposition with emerging perspectives. Faith and reason entered complex conversation, influencing ethics, philosophy, and understanding of the natural world. Tension persisted, dialogue continued, understanding deepened gradually. Over time, what began as a quiet revival became a reshaping of how people understood knowledge itself, transforming learning into an ongoing journey rather than a finished map. Questions replaced certainty as signs of intelligence, and curiosity earned respect alongside obedience. Thinking became visible. Learning became shared, progress felt human. This era did not finish its work neatly because its energy carried forward, spilling into new movements and discoveries that would reshape the world again. Art and ideas remained in motion, shaped by every mind willing to observe carefully, question honestly, and imagine responsibly. The journey remained open. The conversation continued, history moved onward.